Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the You Should Care podcast. This is going to be our first episode here, and we'll be covering the recent bill signed by Gavin Newsom regarding voter ID. Today is October 5th. This bill was signed by Newsom on September 29th, so pretty recent, about 6 days ago. What we have here is the actual bill on California's government website with the details. So this video won't be too long. I do have my notes here, so sorry if you hear some paper noise in the background, but just a quick overview of this video. I'll be going over the bill details, how this bill actually started in Orange County, or as a result of something happening in Orange County, what you actually do need to legally vote, some more details on the bill itself, who does or doesn't have voter ID in the state, regarding whether or not voter ID laws are racist, because that's a common topic these days. And then we'll finish up with just a couple notes on Gavin Newsom's track record, some popular comments by Elon Musk on this bill, and my final thoughts at the end. So be going over just facts in this video and then giving my opinions on it at the very end, so that throughout the video you can just be getting the information and making up your own opinion on this. So on this channel, that's what I'm going to attempt to do, is give you the information on what's going on, let you form your opinions and critically think on it, and then give my opinions at the very end. Alrighty, so just a quick start on this one. Since this is a video regarding a politician, I do like to start with a quick note on the politicians' salaries and net worth, because that is very interesting, especially with the top people in government. So Newsom became governor of California in 2018. He's obviously still the current governor. So at 16 years of governor so far, he has made about $1.295 million in salaries. Just as governor. He was lieutenant governor before that for a few years, but $1,295,000 so far in his 16 years as governor. His net worth as of 2023 was $20 million. So that far exceeds what he's made. He's made about $1.5 million in the last 20 years, and that's before taxes, before any expenses, and he's somehow worth $20 million. So let's continue on regarding this bill. So in March of this year, March 2024, Huntington Beach, which is a California city, the voters in that city approved a ballot initiative requiring any resident to show valid ID when attempting to cast a ballot, which sounds like a pretty normal thing, pretty standard procedure, and not asking too much. But once the city of Huntington Beach did approve that, the California Attorney General, Rob Bonta, who's a Democrat, and Secretary of State Shirley Weber, also Democrat, sued the city of Huntington Beach to block officials from enforcing that. So again, just to recap that, the actual citizens of Huntington Beach, the people there, decided they wanted voter ID for their local elections, and 2 state representatives in California sued them, blocking that from happening. So the bill itself we have up here, let's see, it's going to be Senate Bill number 1174. So this bill was authored by Dave Min, Democrat from Irvine, and it targets voter ID for local elections. Gavin Newsom signed this into law on September 29th, 2024, and this bill specifically prohibits local governments from enacting or enforcing a requirement that a person must show identification when voting. And again, continuing with the facts here, you might be wanting to brush up on what you need to vote in California. So, irrelevant of this bill or any other Huntington Beach laws or anything, the current qualifications to vote in California in any election is you have to be a United States citizen and a resident of California. You have to be 18 years or older on the day that you're voting, and you cannot be currently serving a state or federal prison term for the conviction of a felony. You also cannot be found mentally incompetent to vote by a court. So as long as you're not in any process with a felony, you're not mentally incompetent because of a court case, and you're 18 at the time of voting, and a U.S. citizen resident in California, you can vote. So striking down this Huntington Beach initiative and signing this bill into law, California becomes one of only 14 states that do not require voter ID for elections. That's according to National Conference of State Legislators. So you might be thinking, there's a lot of requirements to vote in California. Why do you need to show ID? Well, the thoughts behind it is it's a little bit of extra added security, and who doesn't have an ID, right? You need an ID to drive, to get a job, to do pretty much anything. And so one of the main arguments against it here is that the voter ID laws are racist. And continue with the facts here. Let me quote 2 lines from the actual bill here. Let me scroll down. It's going to be 4 and 7, if you can see it on the screen here. And this is written in section 1 of the bill itself. Item number 4 says, voter identification laws have historically been used to disenfranchise low-income voters, voters of color, voters with disabilities, and senior voters. Item 7 says, voter identification laws place the onus on the voter to prove their identity and right to vote, even after voters have taken the necessary steps to prove their identity and right to vote through voter registration process. The second one is, of course, true. If you are registered to vote, you have proved all of those things. At the same time, in my opinion, if you're voting and you've proved all those things, you probably have ID. And to fact check point number 4, item number 4 on here, disenfranchise low-income voters, voters of color, voters with disabilities. There are a lot of people, usually, again, this is a fact, usually white Democratic voters that state these voter ID laws are racist. And there's a great video on this. Let me find it here. Amy Horowitz from Fox News. Regardless whether or not you like Fox News, this is a video by this guy, but it's on the Fox News YouTube channel if you'd like to find it. The video is titled Amy Horowitz, How White Liberals Really View Black Voters. And again, this is not my opinion. This is a video where this interviewer goes around and asks a bunch of white people and then a bunch of black people voter ID questions. And I encourage you to watch the video yourself, but in summary, most of the white people mentioned to him that voter ID laws are racist and that people of color don't have ID, don't know where to get ID, don't know how to use computers to get ID, and don't know where the DMV is. In my opinion, it's pretty ridiculous to think those things, but again, proceeding with the facts here, the second half of the video, he finds only people of color and asks them the same questions, asks them how they feel about these people's responses, and every single person of color that he interviews has a legal state ID on them. I think most of them are driver's license, but they all have ID on them at the time of the interview. They all know where the DMV is. One man mentions the street names of the DMV. They all know how to get there. They all have internet. They all know how to use the DMV website. And the age range is wide. The youngest kid in that video looks maybe 18 or 20, and all the way up to older voters. So that video does a great job of talking to real people in California and completely disproving point number 4, item number 4 on this ballot, that the voter ID laws disenfranchise certain groups. They do not. All these people know how to get ID. Senior voters have probably had ID for decades longer than I have. let's keep going with a couple facts on this bill before I go ahead and pass along my thoughts on it. Of course, I've interjected a couple of my thoughts here, but we're trying to stick with the actual information on this bill so you know what's going on. Another item of information I found, because the main argument here is that voter ID at the ballot box is redundant since you already registered to vote. Well, one thing I found to contradict that is a bit of a crack in the foundation here. It's in Santa Ana, where there's a largely Hispanic non-citizen population, making up nearly a quarter of the population of that town. Conservative organizations, including the California Public Policy Foundation, are challenging the specific ballot wording around taxpayers and parents, quote, taxpayers and parents, end quote, in court, saying it will unfairly influence voters in favor of the proposal. So what they are trying to do is allow non-citizens to vote based on their population needs, and they're trying to say, since they're taxpayers or parents, they can vote. And there are individuals who might be on visas who are actually paying taxes, which is a bit of a slippery slope, because if you are paying taxes, yeah, you should probably be able to vote, in my opinion. But parents, I don't know why it says taxpayers and parents. Being a parent alone does not qualify you to vote, in my opinion. So that is one place specifically that is trying to get non-citizens to vote legally in California. And then with the signature of this bill, these things are leading towards possibly having non-citizens vote. So a couple more things before we finish up here. Remarks by the popular Elon Musk. Everyone knows he loves to comment on the political climate in the country, which I'm just impressed he has time to pay attention to any of that with all the things he does work related. But on his platform X, he said, quote, "Wow, it is now illegal to require voter ID in California. They just made preventing voter fraud against the law," end quote. And then later on, the same day, he wrote, quote, "The Joker is in charge," end quote, referring, of course, to Gavin Newsom. And that is the point. There is a small space for voter fraud to get in there between registering to vote and presenting voter ID at the ballot box. If you take away voter ID at the ballot box, all they have to do is get registered to vote somehow, or show up at a ballot box and vote as someone else, or something like that, right? Excuse me. So there are ways to kind of weasel into vote illegally there, which is why just having one small step of voter ID at the ballot box is probably a good idea. Eventually I will do a full video on Gavin Newsom, but there are a lot of troubled things in his past. As I mentioned in the beginning, his net worth being absolutely ridiculous. He has a few other interesting items in his history. These things aren't at all related to the voter ID bill, but I'll share them anyways to entice you to watch a future Gavin Newsom video that I will put out. So a lot of people, we're getting in the part where those are my opinions, but a lot of people don't pay full attention to the news, politics, everything that's going on, and I fully understand. We're all very busy with our own lives. We have jobs, kids, families, friends, things going on. It's hard to pay attention. And Gavin Newsom's been around so long in California politics that a lot of people, especially people my age or younger, probably don't know his history, and he might just look like this dude that's doing it all and doing it all correctly, which is extremely far from the truth. So regardless of how you feel about this bill, we're just going to drop a few what I would consider major issues with Newsom's history. Now, anyone in life is going to have, dirt you could dig up on them, but I think these are pretty big issues. So the first one, as I mentioned, his net worth is ridiculous. So he's on par with Washington politicians there. A second one is after Newsom got divorced when he was about 38, he had an affair with his campaign manager's wife, which went public a year later. And then when he was around the same time frame, mayor of San Francisco and 38 years old, he briefly dated Brittany Mounts, who was 19 at the time while he was 38. And while they were together, she did turn 20, but he also turned 39. So pretty big age gap there. The age gap isn't so much the problem as her technically being a teenager and a few things related to the age gap. So once they started dating, people noticed her MySpace age, because yes, this is how long ago this was. Her MySpace age on her profile jumped from 19 to 26, meaning Newsom's political group noticed that people were starting to have issues, and they lied and changed her name on social media. Changed her age on social media. And then another item was, at the time, Gavin Newsom was trying to crack down on underage drinking. It was a campaign point, a selling point of himself, and so he's trying to crack down on underage drinking, and then he's dating a 19-year-old girl, and he brought her to public event where she drank wine in public. Again, a 19-year-old drinking wine, is it a huge deal? Not necessarily, but the point is he's almost 20 years older. He is 20 years older, and he is combating underage drinking and then bringing his underage girlfriend to drink in public at political events. So super weird. It's similar to during the COVID lockdowns when no one was allowed to go out to eat. He went to a restaurant with all his friends, no mask, and had a big dinner. So again, the main point there is just that the rules are for us and not for him. And Gavin has always kind of done his own thing and done whatever he wanted, as that story proves, because that's a very old story. And then COVID lockdown's more recent. So he kind of just has always done whatever he wanted and not cared too much about us Californians. Another important point, I think, which will be the last one on Newsom, is his total spent on homelessness since he has become governor, because when he became governor, it was a huge thing. He was going to end homelessness in 5 years, I believe was his plan, which obviously didn't happen. We're 16 years later. And so far, he has spent $24 billion with a B on homelessness. And as someone who lives in California and has frequently traveled to San Francisco, Sacramento, I've been to Long Beach and San Diego recently, been all over. I've also been all over Oregon. I would say homelessness has gotten a lot worse in the last 10 years in Oregon and California. And I carefully assess that, because I don't want to just think that because, am I paying more attention now as I get older? And so I really think back hard as a kid, and I've been paying attention for a while now as an adult. And my solid opinion on that is that it has got extremely worse, and all the while spending $24 billion on homelessness, which is an insane amount of money. Now, the point is that money is not working. It's not going to actually help anybody. We still have a lot of homeless people that need help. So whatever he's doing, it's just spending money, probably giving money to his friends, and not working. So to finish this up, the reality is, in my opinion, voter ID is an important security measure for elections. Elections are the one main thing that makes a free country free, is that we can elect who we want. Sure, you'll never find a perfect person on the ballot that fits everything that you want, of course, and sometimes we have to choose between someone who sucks and someone who sucks a little less. That's kind of how it goes. But the ability to choose that person that sucks a little bit less is what makes our country great, fortunately. So anyone that wants to vote, it's not that hard to become a citizen. And yes, before you hop in the comments, I have many friends who have gone through that process, or their parents have gone through that process, friends born in Mexico that went through that process, stuff like that. You can come into the country legally. You can become a citizen. You can pay taxes like the rest of us. Yes, taxes are too high, I understand, but you should be contributing if you're going to vote. And you can get ID very easily. I got my real ID last year, or in 2024. Not a hard process. Took about 10 minutes. Just find a DMV that's not busy. All these people, they say, are disenfranchised, people of color, elderly people, all that stuff. No, they have ID. That's a lie. I don't know why the government is pushing that so hard. Maybe it's to get people in their fields and vote for these laws. But the reality is people absolutely have ID and access to ID. And if you're not a legal citizen, you should not be voting in our elections. That's really a basic thought. So these laws are necessary. The basic laws. We should have voter ID at the ballot box. Who doesn't carry the ID with them everywhere they go all the time? I've never met anyone that doesn't. So requiring a quick little ID check at a voter at the ballot box is not a big deal at all. It's not a big deal like the government makes it out to be, and it should be a simple qualification. So that's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I didn't mean for this video to go totally anti-Newsom. It's just this bill is really another thing that piles on top of things that Newsom does to really kind of destroy California. He's been governor for a long time, which is kind of baffling the more you look into it, because he really always has these major issues and he never really fixes anything. Our taxes have gone up, businesses and are leaving California, which gets rid of tax income for the state and gets rid of jobs for the people. All these people are leaving, all these businesses are leaving because it's expensive. There's homeless people everywhere. It's dangerous. There's crime everywhere. And then we're just spending billions on homelessness and stuff like that while our education goes down, crime goes up. So instead of doing things important and helping us, he's getting rid of voter ID at the ballot box to make sure it's not checked. In my opinion, that's not an important thing to focus on right now, and I honestly think it's the opposite direction of where we should be going. Anyways, we should have voter ID. So, yeah, he's the one that signed it. That's why I kind of went in on him a little bit in this video. Partially unintentional and partially intentional, because again, this all goes back to him. So that's the bill. That's what it does. It started with the Huntington Beach initiative, and again, Dave Min, Democrat in Irvine, authored the bill, and the California Attorney General Rob Bonta and the Secretary of State Shirley Weber, both Democrats, are the ones that sued the city of Huntington Beach to get this all rolling. So all Democrats, and they are all rolling in on this no voter ID. And I don't have anything against Democrats. I've unfortunately been registered as one for a long time, but it's just important to point those things out there. So that's the facts on the bill. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if I missed anything, and I'll keep putting out videos on any updates that may come up with this bill. All right, guys. Thank you, and have a great day. Like, subscribe. More videos coming. We're going to stay up to date on California stuff, United States stuff, and